Hello and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass, this is their Conquest Battle Report. Today I am playing Dweghom into 100 Kingdoms, but this time I'm playing the Dweghom, and my opponent is Colin, who's playing his 100 Kingdoms. I am still playing the same list that I played last time, whatever Brian beat me with. This is due to the fact that I got home, didn't repack my bag with anything, was still gluing together Dweg minis, and I was like, well, it's ready to go, I'm just going to throw it on the table and play it again, because I am enjoying it. Did a talk with Brian about Dweghom, that should be coming out either before or after this, I have no idea, so if you want to watch me play Elden Ring and get killed and listen to Brian talk about Dweghom, that'll be available for you. But let's get on with the lists and go from there. So, here's the list, whatever Brian beat me with. It's running a Tempered Sorcerer Warlord in the School of Magma on a Hellbringer Drake. It's got a unit of Fireforge and the Hellbringer Drake. This is really good shooting. Fireforge really good. Like, defense 3, the shield going to 4, resolve 3, 5 wounds. Like, they're really solid. They only have 3 attacks each, but you get Barrage 4, AP 2 at range 14. Like, once you set up your castle, Fireforge are a really effective shooting unit. Will just tear through stuff. And you'll see them really get some tearing done in this game. Same with the Hellbringer Drake. It's a mobile gun platform. Once it gets into spot, using take aim to get that volley 2 to volley 3. Because of all the armor piercing, like you have a lot of armor piercing 2 in various ways. Like overcharge, you basically have armor piercing 2 whenever you need it, and more shots. That you can really put on a lot of damage. What I quite enjoy. These are fantastic units. Then I got another Tempered Sorcerer, Fireforge, and Hellbringer Drake. Same thing in School of Magma. Not the Warlord, but still, it's really good. Having 2 of these guys, like 2 of the same warband, super good. I really like having 2 Fireforge, 2 Hellbringer Drakes, 2 Tempered Sorcerers. You can really bounce around a lot with activations. What's really nice, like, oh, these guys are kind of hurt, but well, I could activate the other Fireforge but aren't engaged and clear off the unit that's engaged, or get some shots in elsewhere. So there's a lot you can do with having multiples of the same unit, especially with units this powerful. Then I got 2 units of Argent Killua with 5 Flame Berserkers. The only difference is that one Argent Killua has Memory Breath and Flaming Oratory, whatever. I'm never gonna get this right. Memory Breath gives you Aura of Death +1. So the Flame Berserkers go to Aura of Death 3, the Argent Killua has Aura of Death 1, and then the Flaming Oratory, someone's gonna say, hey, you got that wrong, gives you Tenacious. So one of these blocks is really good, while the other block over here is just, regular. Still have 5, still have an Argent Killua. They are mostly there to cast the Score spell. I was trying to cast Fear. I didn't really cast Dismay very much. Dismay prevents you from an opponent's regiment from scoring. Fear makes someone's regiment -1 resolve. It's actually kind of good. Rancor is the Score spell. I kind of cast that because I'm just throwing it on my own unit and kind of get away with it easier. You'll see why magic was not that great for me this game very shortly. It's always fun. And the last thing I have is the Hold Ballista with a Standard Bearer and a Herald of Magma. Herald of Magma gives you Aura of Death 2. And also if you're engaged with a regiment or in a zone, not a zone, like a zonal terrain, so like forest, water, whatever, it gains the Erupting keyword, so you can start casting Pyroclast and stuff off of that piece of terrain. And you can start spreading out how you manipulate the board as a Magma Sorcerer. Overall, Brian made a really good list. This is, I want to say, my 3rd time playing it. I think there's a couple mistakes I made, what I could just do better, just by playing Dweghom, because it is a different game than playing 100 Kingdoms. But I believe I'm getting the idea of Dweghom at this point and this style of list, so I'm really excited to keep playing it. I am quite enjoying it. I'm going to slow roll the rules, so if there's anything here that I didn't mention that you're curious about, pause the video at any time and read the rule. Alright, let's go see my opponent's healing list. Here's my opponent's 100k list. They're playing, it's called Healing, and they start with an Imperial Officer Warlord for that rapid deployment, so 2 infantry regiments can hit the Vanguard special rule. His army rule is Relentless Drills, so everyone's going to get support 2. The Imperial Officer has Armor Dominion for anti-cleave, anti-smite. When his stand is touching my stands, except a lot of my armor piercing, cleave, all that stuff comes from my shooting, so this is not going to matter, so I'm just going to lay into him. Then he's got Brace for Impact on your feet, so Bastion double time. Running 2 units of Men-at-Arms, they're just running around being annoying. Tapping objectives, getting in the way, really solid to do that. And he's got a unit of 8 stands of Gilded Legion with a Standard Bearer. The Imperial Officer is going to sit in that. That's going to be a really mean unit to deal with. And then he's got a 6-stand unit of Steel Legion with the Drill Master and Standard Bearer. So this is also going to be another mean unit that I'm going to have to deal with. Not super excited, to be honest. It's just the best way to put it is like this Gilded Legion block. It's going to be really hard and heavy to deal with, and it's going to be even worse once we get to the rest of the list. Steel Legion, they're not super durable, especially if I start hitting them with a lot of that AP2 shooting I have before they get to engage me, and I'll just rip right through them before they can do stuff. So we'll see what happens with them. Steel Legion, really good hammer. They're just not durable enough and to make it there. And you're kind of using bodies, but if you're going to go that route, you might as well grab Gilded Legion because they have a higher base resolve. Pike formation and support 3 really benefits from, well, support 2 base, 3 with Relentless Drills really supports a bigger brick playstyle. So they kind of have a little bit more going for them. While the Steel Legion, yeah, they have that cleave too, but they're not durable enough to get there, especially with the 4 wounds. And you don't really want to run them as a big brick because when you take Relentless Drills, you only get support 2 from the back end stands instead of support 3 from the Guild Legion, so it's not a huge drop off comparatively. Next, we got a Noble Lord. He's got a Gilded Rampart for, oh, what is it? I talked about this. Where is it? There it is. Iron Discipline, so it prevents you from being flanked, basically. He's got Graceful Combatant and Weapon Master, so cleave 1 and +2 to the attacks, or Eccentric Fighting Style for another +2 attack. So a lot of attacks, rerolling at cleave 1. A pretty killy Noble Lord. I don't think he really wants to be caught out in a duel. He'll probably kill whatever duels him, but he might just die as well because he's got to reroll all his defense rolls. It's not very good. And he only's got 4 wounds, so he'll just explode if he just fails 4 of these. Then we got 8 stands of Household Guard, Arms Master, Standard Bearer. The Household Guard are really good, especially with Relentless Drills, getting that support 3 on their cleave 1. Arms Master bumping them up to Clash 3 with the Noble Lord, inspiring to 4. Like, they're going to do a ton of work. And then another unit of Men-at-Arms. And then lastly, we got Chapter Mage with 2 Merc Crossbows. We got the Kiss Farewell and School of Water. And the Chapter Mage is the Warlord, so all of my opponent's regiments, when I target them, have interference, and I have 4 casters, so you can imagine how much fun that is. And then on top of that, the Chapter Mage has healing, and as you know, healing has gotten better. It is now, was it like 3? Like if you get the spell off, you get 3 heals and then another +1 per success. So you're kind of getting like about 7, I think, on average. What's pretty good, like 6 or 7. So you can heal up to like a full stand or 2 stands back every time. And on Gilded Legion, what's a very durable regiment, this is gonna be really annoying. And you're going to see my opponent has his Merc Crossbows kind of hiding behind the Gilded Legion, basically healing up. And it's just a really hard nut to chew through, but if I pick my targets right, I can kind of kill off 2 of them, and then I'll have to grind into 1 and hold out long enough, so maybe I can get in behind and pick off the Chapter Mage. Once the Chapter Mage dies, that interference bubble on all my opponent's regiments go away, so it's going to be a lot better for me casting spells. It's going to be really nice. But this is going to be an actual hard matchup. I miss a lot of spell casts this game, and it's not even due to interference. I just roll 5s and 6s way too many times. So thank goodness I'm playing Magma, where I only need 2 successes. So I'm going to slow roll my opponent's rules. Pause the video at any time. This is something I didn't cover. That's about it. Alright, let's go to the scenario. Today's scenario is Echelon. We have a friendly objective way back here on the 6-inch line, and we have an enemy objective way back here on the 6-inch line, and then we have 2 neutral objectives in the middle. I know these 2 middle objectives got pushed up 6 inches. I thought when this was initially set up that The A and B objectives were also pushed up 6 inches, so they'd be on the line right here and the line right here. They're not, but that's okay. You know, those 2 middle objectives are in a better spot, as well as these 9-inch zones. So there's a big battle kind of going on for this square right here. And then if you can either sneak around and get your opponent's objective, that's not bad. Or if you break through from your close zone and you just kind of grab both of them and take your opponent's objective while also holding on this way. So you and your opponent are kind of clashing this way, but you've broken through and then you're holding here, you're in a good spot, and then you can kind of sneak in and kill that black objective. They usually don't get targeted just because they're so far back. Like 6 inches off the table edge is just too far back for a lot of things to get to nicely, and it's very much something that gets cleaned up and shot at or taken care of very much in the last 3 turns of the game, and it's not something that's really looked at. So there's more emphasis on the middle of this table where you want to control your zone as fast as possible. You don't necessarily have to take your objective early, you just need to not let your opponent take it so that when there's a better time, you can, I'll circle in orange, you can take the closer objective and then push in and try and contest your opponent. And that's really what's going on here. Just make sure your opponent doesn't take your closer neutral objective, make sure you're always scoring that zone, and try and keep your opponent from scoring their zone. And you're going to be in a good spot. So, for points, you get 3 VPs for killing objective marker. You get an additional 2 if you've destroyed 2 or more in the round. That one's really tough to do, I found. You get 2 VPs for scoring each zone, and you get 2 additional VPs if you're scoring 2 or more zones. That's really it. It's pretty simple. It's not like very complex on points, because like as I mentioned, you just kind of wall up here this black line is, and then just make sure no one tries and be really sneaky and get your objective zone, and you just kind of hold off, take your neutral at a good rate, just make sure you're scoring your zone, push them out, take their zone, and push more. So you kind of need to win a flank here and collapse. But with that, let's go to the table and I'll talk about that. Here's the table we played on today. I'm just gonna circle these objectives. There's my friendly, there's my opponent's friendly, and then you got the 2 neutrals right here, and then the big red zones are the zones. So for terrain, we got some size 2 elevation here. We got size 2 obscuring, hindering forests for both ends. I'm just going to O and H. I can't be bothered. There you go. We got some water right in the middle there, so that's going to be that great. And then lastly, we have some size 4 garrisons on either side of the zones. Not a bad table at all. I don't mind this one. You know, we got the terrain here, like the forest that I'm just kind of lining in red. That's not bad. You can kind of hide in there or behind it. Makes shooting the objective a little crappy unless you're in it. Then the garrisons, I thought about going to the garrisons at one point, but I never did. It was kind of like, well, I could go in there and shoot out, but it's kind of limiting where I want to go, because I could also use the garrison as basically an obstruction so that my flank here is protected. And if my opponent wants to run all the way around or into the garrison and then hop out, they can, but once they're in there, I'm just gonna unload into them with like my magic and shooting. It's not gonna be very good. So yeah, there's garrison's not that great. They're not bad, they're just not great, because if you're in the garrison, I don't think there's really much that can shoot from the garrison into the objective as well, because you got to be within half range, and that's not 7 inches. So I'm not gonna win that fight. Yeah, so that's really the table. Don't mind it. It's got some good spots. Water in the middle. Let's see if there's a fight in the middle, it'll come up. If people run around it, it won't. That's kind of it. So let's get on to turn 1. Here's turn 1. I get my Argent Killua with the Aura of Death +1 and the Tenacious onto the table with the Flame Berserkers. I cast my Rancor spell. I fail. This will be a very common thing, and I basically just run them towards the zone right here because I want to score it that's really it. That's why I went to that one. I had no reason to go for the objective just yet, because I was like, well, hold Ballista are going to come on eventually. I can hold Ballista over there, shoot the objective down over a couple turns. They'll be fine. My opponent gets both his Merc Crossbows on the table and his Chapter Mage. He just runs them up the table. He's really into looking for burn down this objective with shooting, which is not bad at all. But he's also worried because he knows I have better guns than him and that I want to be set up in a better position. He also knows that I'm going to be gunning for that Chapter Mage. And I think this is where he starts kind of messing this all up, where that Chapter Mage with the Merc Crossbows did not need to be that forward. And next turn, you're going to kind of see them run off. So that's turn 1, nothing too crazy. So let's go to turn 2. Here's turn 2. My opponent only gets 1 medium on the table. So that's great for me, because I get my other unit of Flame Berserkers and Argent Killua. Right there. And then I get my Warlord Tempered Sorcerer on his Hellbringer Drake. I just right there. I make a mistake here. So Flame Berserkers are speed 6, so they run up 12. Except both my Flame Berserker units have a banner. So I've been running them up 12, and then I realize on turn 3 that they should have been 13. So I should have been 2 inches forward more, while I'm not. And if I was, this would have been an auto in charge between these guys. I'm just going to say it right now. But because of those 2 inches, I'm not in, and it really sucked. But that's on me for not remembering my rules and that I had a banner and not just taking their base march. So in the game, my opponent has these Merc Crossbows, shoot the objective, starting to get that work done. I look at my Flame Berserkers and my Argent Killua. I get the spell off the score, what's really good, so I score this zone. And I run them forward, and I'm threatening his Merc Crossbows, so my opponent reforms and then marches back 5 inches. Just running away with the Chapter Mage. The Chapter Mage doesn't need to see a friendly regiments to heal them, so it doesn't really matter which way this mage is going. But this could have been set up better or in a better spot to not kind of just running away like this. Like, they could have still been positioned forward, just not in an aggressive spot, and just kind of like shot at me, but further back or whatever. They could have been just 9 inches away from this objective marker back there and just pop a shot into it. But he knows at this point that I'm kind of gunning for him, and if I could kill him really quick, great. So my opponent's really putting the effort to keep that Chapter Mage alive. My Hellbringer Drake just runs up the table. I'm not gonna do that. There we go. Just runs up the table, casts 2 spells. I get like 3 tokens this turn. They're just, like the Hindering Terrain is over there, and I cast like Erupting on this garrison. It does not matter. Next unit of Flame Berserkers, I'm kind of running. They're not within 8 of the Drake, but I'm gonna have another Drake next turn, so I'm not too worried. I'm just kind of running up the table because I want to start establishing a line between these 2 objectives, where I'm then going to engage my opponent. My opponent's Household Guard, Vanguard, run up the table, get into the zone, scoring it. Sweet. And so stuff is getting into position. So far, rolls haven't been going so good for me. Not a whole bunch of stuff has been coming on the table, not a whole bunch of stuff is coming on from my opponent's side. However, my opponent's going to have both his heavies next turn. He's got forward force from the Imperial Officer, which is going to get the Gilded Legion on. He's going to flank on the Steel Legion, and then it's all 4 downs for his remaining Men-at-Arms. So there's a bunch of stuff that's going to come on the table next turn. While for me, I'm looking at a Hellbringer Drake and Ballistae for sure, and then it's going to depend on how the Fireforged do. And I kind of need some Fireforged to shore up my defense for the castle strategy. So let's go to turn 3 and see how that goes. Here's turn 3. Things that go well and things that go bad. So, things that go bad. Flame Berserkers want to charge these Merc Crossbows. I probably shouldn't have gone for them. I'm not. I don't know. Like, I thought about it. I probably, like, if I got it, Flame Berserkers would have been sitting here, shoot up Merc Crossbows. My opponent's Gilded Legion would have deployed behind them, and then now they're fighting the woods. They're outside of token range of the Hellbringer Drake, who just kind of moved up here on the zone. Probably not good if I did it. However, I needed a 3 and I rolled a 2 with a reroll twice, and I just kind of shimmied up the table, and I'm like, oh, this kind of sucks. Probably a better bet would have been me going for this objective, maybe. Putting some damage in on my way. My opponent does shoot it with his Merc crossbows to weaken it some more, so he's going to take it next turn. It's like, okay. This is probably a mistake here. These Flame Berserkers, there used to be a bunch of them. There's not a bunch of them. So what happened is I ran them up, because I'm like, alright, you know, I'm pushing, and then my opponent activates his Household Guard, eventually, and he rolls the 5 to get in, and he just wheel slams in, does a bunch of damage. He's not in the water, so I'm down to, like, very little left. I'm like, oh, this really sucks. By that point in the game, his Men-at-Arms that he got on, I think he has his entire list on the table at this point, and I only have, I'm missing 1 unit of Fireforge, so his Men-at-Arms had bumped into the butt of his Household Guard because they were one of his last activations. So things that are going for him is he's not scoring in the zone. However, he has this unit of Men-at-Arms just trying to make a beeline all the way into the back end of my table. He's got this unit of Steel Legion coming up the middle of the table, so he can flex it either way to support after I've killed one of these bricks, or he keeps pushing with them. These Men-at-Arms are eventually going to get into the zone, so I'm going to have to deal with that to try and keep them off, but I'm going to be up on scoring. He's got more Men-at-Arms just kind of hanging out behind. I don't think that's a great position for them. I think they kind of got gummed up in the works behind everything. Like, they're stuck behind the crossbows, they're stuck between Gilded Legion, they're stuck between Steel Legion. I think those guys should have gone over here, maybe jumped into this, popped out, ran into my back line, something like that. Gilded Legion running up the table across from my Warlord Drake and my Flame Berserkers. I think this is really good. The only thing keeping me away from them is, or vice versa, is the objective. However, my opponent is going to be just shooting it, so he can do it whenever he wants. He has more card activation than me, so that could be his last 2 cards, and just be like, shoot Merc Crossbow, shoot to the objective, Flame Berserkers, and then charge Gilded Legion to Flame Berserkers. I might not be able to do a successful charge into them next turn if that objective's still around, just because of, like, how it is. Let's undo that. Like, trying to get in there, corner to corner. It's really rough, so I'll use black. Yeah, there we go. So, like, I'd have to swing around and try and connect to that corner and then close. It's not the greatest. My opponent's Chapter Mage is way back here. He just kept running. He needed to clear space for the Gilded Legion. I think he should have just side shuffled or something, or just done some better movement. Like, this Chapter Mage play right now has just not been good. I think he could have easily just marched over more here and then marched sideways next couple turns, close it in. But I talked to my opponent after about all this wackiness with the Chapter Mage and, like, the units running away and all that, and he was like, oh, I was trying to shoot and heal at the same time. I'm like, no, like, that Merc Crossbow unit's whole job is to make sure the Chapter Mage is in range of the Healy thing. Shooting is a luxury once stuff is locked in. At this point, you want to move them around so they're in a really good spot, because right now, they're further enough back away from the table, except this is going to change next turn when lines mash, so if I come into him or he comes into me, if I kill off some stands, he's going to be outside of 8. Because 8 inches isn't that big. You can get pretty far away from 8 inches pretty quick when stands start dying. So that's kind of what's going on there. As for my wizards, I take some shots, I believe, with my Hellbringer Drake into the Gilded Legion. I drop some Hindering, I Pyroclast. I think this guy over here tried to drop some Hindering and just failed. This Argent Killua, I don't even think got his spell off. Like, it's just bad rolls happening spell-wise. I'm just not having a great time there. Fireforge coming up the table here. I need to get him in the woods here so they can shoot into Household Guard and be in a girded spot. I'm already looking at my Ballistae to shoot into this objective, so that'll be good there. And once that objective's down, they can start hitting Household Guard as well. Start putting the beat down with guns. I kind of wanted a little bit more guns on earlier so I can get them into a better spot, but we're going to have to work with what we got. All that really matters is I hold on to this objective because I'm scoring this turn, my opponent is not. And if I can hold on to that and kill my ejector marker at some point, and if this game goes to turn 10, I'll be 2 points ahead of my opponent, and I'll win the game. So that's the plan so far. Rolls have been kind of bad, but we'll see how it turns out as the game goes on. Let's go to turn 4. Here's turn 4. So things that happen. My opponent, did my Flame Berserkers do anything? I'm thinking no. I don't think my Flame Berserkers do anything. I think they just get Clash killed. No. The Merc Crossbows here. This was it. So these Merc Crossbows shoot my Flame Berserkers and kill them because they had 1 wound left. Then I start unloading my wizards. I drop this Hindering Terrain over here. I start double Pyroclasting into the Household Guard. I'm starting to activate the Fire Forge, who you've seen walk up, shoot into the Household Guard. My opponent does a March Charge and gets into the Fire Forge. I'm like, okay, that's great. And then, this Drake shoots. These Fire Forges run up the table. That's what the Merc Crossbow proxy are. And then I believe, even these Ballistae, I just rotate them a bit. And there's some stands gone because they went before, but they get a line here. They get a line through there. Get around the objective and shoot enough to get in there, do a couple more damage, and also guard not doing so well. So if I can get another round of shooting into them, it's gonna be really good, and that's a-okay with me. On the other side here, my opponent's Gilded Legion charges and kills the objective, scoring him points because his Merc Crossbow shot and cleared off my other Flame Berserkers. I then counter, charge into the Gilded Legion, do a bunch of damage. I think I kill off the back 3 stands. It's really good. Really happy about that. My Hellbringer Drake drops some shots. I think I Pyroclast some stuff. Spells go off, do some damage. Not too super crazy, but I kill 3 stands. Really good. My opponent's Men-at-Arms March Charge and get into the side, over the Merc Crossbows, into the side of the Flame Berserkers. I'm okay with that because they're going to take Aura of Death 6. They're right in line for these Fire Forge from the side, so they're going to be defense 0 for every shot that goes into them. There's a lot going on there, so I'm going to clear off those Men-at-Arms really easy. I can start grinding out the Gilded Legion. I can start putting damage on them. And these Household Guard in the middle are just getting slaughtered, so they're probably going to die. I just need to keep losses to a minimum. And I think my entire list is on the table at this point. However, I did lose some Flame Berserkers, basically for nothing, and I'm not a super great fan for that. But my next worry is the Steel Legion that are running up the table. He just kind of moves up because he doesn't want to go super far forward and get gummed up behind his own stuff and then shot up because currently he's out of range. He is scoring because he just ran these Men-at-Arms up to score that zone, so he's doing great there. I'm scoring my zone with the Hellbringer Drake. And these guys, I think they just run up 10. He's still trying to make his march, so my opponent and I kind of talked about this. He's either going for this objective, or he's going to be going for these Ballistae, so we'll figure out what he actually does when he gets there. Chapter Mage, I forget what the hell she actually even does. She might have healed, might have been in range to heal. I know he wanted to hop the objective marker here, but because the objective marker is 2.6 and you march 5 and he's marching... Oh, he does a reform and then he wants to march. So he wouldn't clear it. So he does a reform to turn around and then he wants to march 2.5. Or not 2.5, 5 inches over, but because the stand is 2.6, he'd be 5.2, so he couldn't clear it. So he just side marches a bunch, and then I believe he casts a heal spell, bringing back some Gilded Legion. I don't think he rolls very well, and he gets a couple stands back, because I had this Gilded Legion down to I think 4 stands, but he rallied and then healed, so he got a bunch back. So a lot of work went into them, but they're healing back, and this is the big problem. So with that, that's about turn 4. I really need to start killing off these bricks and start punching a hole through and survive. A lot of my shit ticket tokens are being spent right now, keeping alive. Did I take really any damage? I don't think I really took any damage, to be honest. Flame Berserkers kind of died. Yeah, no, I'm just generating shit tickets. That's great for me. And I'm also trying to stay out of interference range or give interference, but it's my opponent having that protective glyphs, making all my attunement go from 3 to 2 is just really awful. Even if I need 2 successes, there have been plenty of times where I've rolled like 2 3s and a 1, and I'm like, oh sweet, that spell doesn't go off, and it's just like, my god. So it's really rough there. However, I'm in a decent spot, but I really need to start putting some work in to clear off some of this stuff so I can actually win this game. So right now it's really anyone's game. Let's go to turn 5. Here's turn 5. Things that happen. My opponent activates their Household Guard. Inspire Clash into my Fireforge. Fireforge live with like 4 wounds or something, but they're broken. In response, Hellbringer Drake, you know, shoots the Household Guards. Fireforge, like, shoot the Household Guard. Balliste, shoot the ejective marker because they're dead at this point. I forget what these Fireforge do. I think they clash. They clash at one point into the Household Guard. So, but anyway, I kill the Household Guard. They're dead. In response, my opponent's last activation, he just double marches and triple marches right up in my grill, and he's like, I'm gonna take your Drake, and I'm like, I'd rather you not. I have a bunch of tokens, and he's like, we'll see if you can survive with my cleave too, and I'm like, well, thank goodness I'm evasion too. So yeah, that's we're gonna see if a bunch of Steel Legion kill this Drake next turn, but that's who's gonna get first? Like this is very much up to the dice roll. On the right side, my Hellbringer Drake, I think he fails his hindering terrain cast, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes, like, god damn it. Or I remove it, I forget which one. I was just casting bad spells, but anyway, you know, Hellbringer Drake into the Gilded Legion, Caster into the Gilded Legion. What do these guys do? Oh, no. These Fireforge, I remember this one. So these Fireforge do not shoot the Household Guard, because the Household Guard were dead at this point. These Fireforge actually shoot at these Men-at-Arms. Just kills off, like, 2 stands, or 1 stand and a bit, and then the Men-at-Arms activate, or I don't think they activate. I think my Flame Berserkers activate, and this stand right here attacks into the Men-at-Arms, while the rest of the stands attack into the Gilded Legion, kill off some more. Then the Men-at-Arms activate, and they just get Aura of Death 6 and die. And I'm like, yeah, get out of here. Merc Crossbows shoot into Flame Berserkers, Gilded Legion attack into Flame Berserkers. I spend some tokens to reduce all that. Chapter Mage in the back here just shifts over, gets within 8, revives a bunch more Gilded Legion after they rally, but like, you know, I'm kind of keeping the Flame Berserkers alive, I'm kind of not. It's either I gotta like smash and break this Gilded Legion and try and chew through it, but I'm running out of stuff to be over there. Steel Legion coming into my grill in the middle is really tough. This is going to be a real hard one. That Chapter Mage is too far back for me to get, so either the Gilded Legion are going to win that fight and then get into the Hellbringer Drake, or the Steel Legion are going to get into the Hellbringer Drake and kill it. I'm going to lose both Drakes, and at that point I'm kind of done. So it's really much of, can Steel Legion kill my Drake? Can the Gilded Legion break the Flame Berserkers and kill the other Drake before both those bricks die? Because if he loses both those bricks, he's got Men-at-Arms left and Merc Crossbows, and my superior defense and shooting will just rip through them and I'll be fine. Last little bit of stuff. My opponent here at the Men-at-Arms on the left, he was trying to go for a charge, but he was going to swing himself off the table if he did, so he had to shuffle over, and then he marched up, or he marched up and shuffled, but anyway, he's like 2 or 3 away. He'll get into those Balliste. These Men-at-Arms doing their job, scoring that zone, perfect. Merc Crossbows hanging out. So yeah, not too bad. My opponent, I believe, has 3 more points than I do. Actually, no, would have 1 more point than I do, because they would have killed the objective for 3 while I'm scoring 2. So yeah, once I take that objective, I'm going to be higher up, and I just got to hold out for the rest of the game, but it's really going to depend if these 2 bricks live or die. So let's go to turn 6 and see what happens to these bricks. Here's turn 6. My opponent wins the roll-off, and now him and I rolled like 3 or 4 times because we kept getting draws. I believe my opponent had the advantage of the +1, but he's like, he rolled a 6, I rolled a 5, tie. He rolled a 5, I rolled a 4, tie. I rolled it, it's like, you know, eventually he won, and I was like, god damn it. But my goal was, if I won, to have my Fireforge who are sitting here, this MSU, or this little one, was messed up, I would have rallied and charged into the side of the Steel Legion. That would have tied them up, so they would have had to clash and kill me off. And then they would have charged into my Hellbringer Drake, but then my Hellbringer Drake would have taken no damage. However, my opponent won. Activated the Steel Legion, charged into my Hellbringer Drake. Did 11 damage after resolve and after tokens were spent. Means I'm still alive. I'm like, yay! In response, I draw my Fireforge. Fireforge shoot into the Steel Legion. Rip him a new one. Great. Then my opponent's Gilded Legion goes. He attacks into my Flame Berserkers. I use Tenacious. I use my token. Or I don't even think I have it. Oh no, I had some tokens left. I used whatever tokens I had left. Burn them all. Keep the the Flame Berserkers going. Their wound counter is back here, but they're down to 1 stand. Not doing really well. I, in response, Flame Berserker back into them. Merc crossbows shoot into Flame Berserkers. I'm like, trying to keep them alive. They're getting real beat up. Hellbringer Drake. And what else is going on here? Yeah. Hellbringer Drake. I believe this guy, he just melees the Steel Forge. Steel Legion, sorry. Because at this point, both the Gilded Legion and the Steel Legion have gone, so now I'm just looking at just killing stuff. And the thing that's like more threatening to me is the Steel Legion, because the Flame Berserkers have held another round and done some damage back, as you can see. Like, there's not very much left in that Gilded Legion block. So Hellbringer Drake, what's wounded right here in the middle, bites at the Steel Legion, and the shots from the Fireforge rips them off so that they're down to like half stands. I then put a Pyroclast into them, what I think kills off enough that they break and shatter and run away. Sweet. Yeah. Oh, and this little Fireforge also shoots them, and I think that's the one that actually does it. What ends up killing them is that little Fireforge. Did enough damage and they just ran off. So I was like, yeah. My opponent makes a big blunder here. So my opponent walks the Merc crossbows up to here. Just kind of runs up. And I'm like, that's pretty close. So I measure, and I'm 16 inches away. So I go, oh. Hellbringer Drake is going to take aim. Use the overcharge to just get more shots. Unload. I think I unload like 14 shots into the... No, I probably unload 12. 12 plus the 5 from the caster into the Merc crossbows. Kills 2 out of the 3 stands. Their last stand is left with a couple wounds left. I'm like, oh, okay. Draw into the Tempered Sorcerer. Drop a Hindering Terrain. Pyroclast out of it into the Merc crossbows. Roll the 2 successes. Take 4 AP1s. Kills them off. There's the Chapter Mage gone. My opponent is now no longer healing. My opponent's Gilded Legion are now no longer healing. Now I can take the Gilded Legion. Even if they kill those Flame Berserkers, there's a Hellbringer Drake with a Wizard who's just going to blow them up because they're only down to like 3-4 stands. It's not a lot. So now I'm in a really good spot because I've killed the Mage because of my opponent just moving up too close because he's getting a little greedy with the shooting. And I've killed the Steel Legion. So now I am free. I'll just circle this in orange. I'm free to send all of this up the table into my opponent. So even if he comes into my Warlord Hellbringer Drake, I have stuff that can support it and kill off the rest of the stuff and go after his little bits. He does March Charge my Ballista. My Ballista activate. I do a Combat Reform, roll the 2, reform, and then Clash. I do like 3 damage. That's about it. So I'm like, okay, whatever. However, both me and my opponent are scoring. But at this point, I'm in a very good position because my middle is now free to start marching up the table and start taking shots at stuff. Get rid of that Gilded Legion. Get rid of those Merc crossbows. Ballista and Men-at-Arms can just fight all they want. The Fireforge, that's only 1 stand left. He'll just turn and shoot that objective down. That'll be great. And I'm probably going to close out this game and win. So let's go to turn 7 and see if I can close it out. So here's turn 7. I believe I win the roll-off. Flame Berserkers activate. I believe I use the Argent Killua to rally them and give them the Inspire spell. And then I attack the Gilded Legion, killing off 2 more stands. At that point, they're broken. My opponent, I believe his Gilded Legion draw, kill off the Flame Berserkers. They only had 1 wound. I was like, I'm never going to live through this. I just didn't bother. Then I draw into my Hellbringer Drake, shoot into the Gilded Legion, killing them. My opponent then draws the Men-at-Arms. They take Aura of Death. I draw my Ballistae. They stab them. And they're, you know, here they are. They're like 2 stands left, 3 wounds, and not doing so well. And I'm like, okay, what do you got left? And he's like, oh, I got these Merc Crossbows, which shoot into the Hellbringer Drake, do a wound. I'm not really caring. And then in orange, I got the rest of this activation to do, and at that point, my opponent calls it. He's like, you're just going to march this Hellbringer Drake and this Wizard up. They're going to kill off my Merc Crossbows because his Gilded Legion here are dead. I'm going to bring up my Fireforge, shoot those Merc Crossbows. You know, that's all just going to go into Merc Crossbows, get them out. Even if it's half shots, every shot's a kill. Erupting that piece of terrain so that it is causes damage to each of the stands will be really good, and it's just going to be really good there. And then once those Merc Crossbows are done, I'm just going to, you know, rotate this way and kill off these Men-at-Arms. I don't care about the Ballistae. They can fight there all they want. I'm probably going to win that fight because of Aura of Death and the Clash, so I'm really fine with that. And then this Fireforge is going to shoot this objective and kill it. So I talk with my opponent. He's like, yep, you can take that objective, and then we'll just score each of the zones, and that'll be it. And I'm like, sweet, good game. And that's really it. So let's go to the store. Here's the score. I win with 15 to my opponent's 13 on turn 7. So, really good game. I am bad at casting spells is what I've learned. There were so many spell casts in that game where I'm like, okay, I only need 2 successes, and I'm rolling like tons of 6s and 5s. I'm like, oh my god. Interference is really annoying, but even if you just need 2 successes, it's not that bad with Dwayne casters, just because you're a Wizard 7. You just have so many dice to deal with the problem that you can get a lot of your spells off. Just get like averages. Like even with 7 dice, you should be getting your spells off. I'm just bad at rolling. But I think one of my biggest mistakes there is that I moved the Flame Berserkers up too far, like the middle Flame Berserker unit. I probably could have ran them up like 10 and just been out of charge range of the Household Guard and been in a better spot, because if I could get the drop on them with the Flame Berserkers, it would have been a much better favor, or make them March Charge me would have been much better. Overall, it was really just kind of just a bad play. Like, I was trying to build my castle, but my back end of it wasn't close enough to my front end of it on that turn, and I got punished for it. So I got to be very aware of that. Ballistae, I think we're fine on the side, kind of holding it. They just do good enough. Like, they're going to do well enough into a ton of stuff. Like Magma, was it Herald of Magma with the, like, if they ever get engaged, it's Aura of Death. If you ever get into terrain, you are now providing erupting on that piece of terrain. You can also cast magma spells from the Herald of Magma into regiments I believe they're engaged in. So that was a pretty good unit just to leave on the side and just deal with like a unit of Men-at-Arms trying to be annoying to me. Because if I got the objective down maybe earlier, had some better dice rolls at the start, for reinforcements would have been better. But that's okay. Kind of played with what was happening and dealt with it. My opponent's big blunder is moving that Chapter Mage up within take aim and shooting range of the Hellbringer Drake. That was just a death sentence. Because I got that Merc Crossbow unit down to like 2 wounds, and I was like, well, now I'm totally going to go for the hindering and then drop a Pyroclast into you. Like, it's only, like, it's range 16 as well, just from all the distances of all that, so I'm totally going to do it. And I got it off and blew him up. Gilded Legion were dying, but the Healing Mage and using the character to unbreak them was really helping for my opponent, keeping them around longer. I think this fight keeps going if I didn't kill the Mage on that turn. Flame Berserkers are dying. Gilded Legion are coming back. I'm probably going to be losing my Warlord Drake, but then I got my other Drake and Fireforge. I can just unload into Gilded Legion. Maybe I can just overload him and kill him off. That'll be really good. And if he does shoot forward to like March Charge and just gets out of range of the Healing Wizard, then I'm in a really good spot as well. So yeah, trying to force your opponent to overextend to get out of the support regiment that is the healing wizard is another way to counteract it, because it is only 8 inches and you got to be really careful where that 8 inches is. It's not as far as you think it is, so you got to be careful with that. What else can I say about this game? I think I made some good placement choices with the Fireforged. I think my opponent's Merc crossbow placement was good. That Healing Mage placement could have been worked on. One of the Men-at-Arms probably could have just also gone long on the other side to get in behind and been annoying, forcing me to turn, or going into the garrison, popping out of the garrison, and like spinning around and hitting the Fireforge on the side just to tie them up so they stop shooting. Stuff like that would have been really helpful. But yeah, overall, really good game. Hope everyone enjoyed it. And yeah. BonkTable's got a YouTube channel. You're probably watching this on that. BonkTable's got a podcast. We got Discord. All the links for that are in the description below. And I hope you join us there. Thank you very much. Goodbye.